Your prayer, put those hands together. Well, this is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and let us be glad in it. Welcome to Biblecast here at Hope TV, House of Hope Atlanta, and WLVO. It's a privilege and a pleasure that you've tuned in today. I pray that God's choicest blessings upon each of you. God is good. And thank you for tuning in. So do me a favor, won't you contact a friend or relative and a neighbor and let them know that our Biblecast is on the airways. We're in the middle. This is part 2 of an amazing conversation we're having this month on God and sexuality. As you know, last month, our topic was, Lord, I need answers. Lord, I got questions. And we received questions from all over the world. And one of the questions that we're trying to attempt to answer this month basically is a general question, general topic. There's so many questions that came through on what faith and sexuality. And so it's going to be an important lesson. So everybody who's tuned in today, if this is your first time tuning in, type the number 1 in your chat And that way, members of our Hope Global community will know this is your first time, and they will appropriately welcome you. If you're watching through a platform that will allow you to like, subscribe, comment, or share, please do so now. You help us with our algorithms. Everybody from Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, Fire TV, Facebook, the websites, YouTube, thank you for tuning in. You made our Biblecast worthwhile. Listen, do me a favor. You can go onto our website, www.hohatl.org. Click the Bible study link, and you can download the notes that we have that will accompany our lesson today. Listen, family, friends, I am excited, in the words of my mother, tickled pink, to have this conversation today with you. And I have my co-host today who's going to be sharing with us. She is an important part of our church family here, works in our counseling field, our outreach, our community affairs ministry. She oversees several areas, and I'm excited that our community partnerships and our counseling ministry here is made the better because she is a part of our community. I want to welcome to our set today, Pastor Sharice Cross. Hey, Pastor, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I want you to tell the people a little bit about your background in terms of just your experiences and your education, so they will know who you are and why I've invited you to share with me on today.
All right. Well, thank you, Pastor. I think you've invited me because I'm a Warriors fan and a 49er fan. You know, he's invited me because
Lord Jesus.
I'm saved for real, and I'm still saved.
She's
even
saved,
with that.
but the other part, she could have kept that foolishness to herself.
Because I am a licensed professional counselor. I did go to school for to learn mental health, to learn what it is we need to do as clinicians. So I'm clinically trained, but I'm also ordained. But before I was ordained, I received my seminary degree in pastoral care. So I do have those two in common. So I want to mix and, I want to combine our faith and our wellness. So I'm so thankful that we could talk about wellness as it relates to God and sexuality. And so I've been working with couples and individuals for a while now. And when I hear their journey, when it comes to their sexuality, it's a chasm when it comes to faith. So this is a great conversation. But I love that I get to shorten that chasm for them to experience God and who they are sexually. So I'm happy that we can have this conversation. If we are healthy sexually, if we have good sexual health, that helps in our relationships. So that's why this conversation is important.
Well, I brought somebody who has been clinically trained and who's helped so many couples in our community here to have these conversations. Very, very important. I'm excited. Please do me a favor. If you're interested in this conversation, you know somebody who needs it, share this link or text them or call them right now and let them know the login right now. It's going to be a great conversation. We started last week. I'm glad you're here before we get into this, because many of the developmental equipping Christian education ministers of our church and discipleship initiatives, you've been a part of them for almost 10 years, from Live Better even up until Life Nights, our new approach that we're doing now, which is similar to what she helped create 10 years ago with Live Better, but a little deeper. I mean, we're having Bible studies on Wednesdays, continued conversations on every Tuesday on Thursday through Zoom, Monday through Zoom, and Tuesdays through Zoom. Can you talk about that a little bit? You know, what helped you to the concept to conceptualize our present Bible study or Life Nights approach?
Absolutely. Life Nights is a concept where we talk about life. The fact is, we were in a harrowing experience called the pandemic that broke us on so many levels, and it disconnected us on so many levels.
Indeed.
So as community, we have been broken apart, and yet life is still lifing for all of us on all levels. So when it came to Life Nights, as a community, we want to come back together and start to have that conversation around life. We need answers. So your topic of your series on Lord, I Need Answers was our first introduction to life, because I got questions. I know you had questions.
Right.
We had over 1 million people die. That's a lot.
Right.
A lot of areas felt unsafe and still feel unsafe to us.
Absolutely.
So we are now coming back as a community to engage in life together. and to be able to have this space that's safe enough for you to ask those questions.
Yes.
We need that.
Absolutely. And, we had so many questions that we received. We got enough questions that came in last month. Lord, Lord, I need answers. Lord, I got questions.
Yeah.
And we can probably go a year or two.
Sure could.
Just really comprehensively address those questions. And one of the ones, one area that we kept getting so many questions was over this whole thing about God and sexuality, and we kind of addressed it last week. I hope you watched last week. If you didn't, go back on YouTube and get the October the 4th Bible study. We introduced it. We had Zooms on the 5th, and then on that following Monday and Tuesday, which was the 6th and the 7th, pertaining to this whole conversation of, just very, very important. I mean, not 6 and 7. That would have been the my God, where's my mind? That would have been the 9th and the 10th. Sorry. Questions that we had, other Zooms to continue the conversation. So we're back today talking about, let's talk about sex. And we talked about it last week. And, it's real interesting. Bishop Jakes once said something. He preached a sermon and taught a message called PMS, Power, Money, and Sex, PMS. And it was interesting. He said that he felt called to do the message because those were the three things that people want, but we don't want to talk about it, even
All
in
day.
church. Power, money. And it's really strange when you talk about sex in terms of faith. There's a lot of discomfort even amongst that now, because some people think that shouldn't be discussed
Right.
in church, and having conversations, those of us who've had sexual experiences, good and bad, before and outside of marriage, there's almost like a taboo that we shouldn't talk about certain things. Let's just talk about the cross and talk about Jesus and talk about tithing and talk about going to heaven.
That's it.
But things like this, why do you think it's important that we have these conversations, even conversations about sexuality in terms of faith?
Because God created us to be sexual beings. He started in the garden with us being sexual beings. He created Adam and Eve. They came together. They cleaved early on. He created us for intimacy. He created us for connection. So why is it that we have decided, I'm not going to deal with that. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's us.
Right.
That's not God.
Yeah.
That's us.
It's interesting you said that, because when I thought about it, I thought about my own life, my own family, and what happened years ago. Because I think a lot of times when we talk about sex and sexuality with faith, we make it seem like it's a new phenomenon, or as if something new has arisen that mandates that we have these conversations. But I think what is interesting for me is when I look at my own family, lineage, some of the mothers in the church, my own mom was pregnant at 13.
Well,
So, we talk about it like it's a new thing. I don't say that demeaning, or because, I'm talking about my mom, what I mean? And that's the greatest woman, what I mean? So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think the problem is a lot of things have been suppressed, a lot of things we just don't discuss. But for years, it's not like people in church have levels of sexual activity.
they get it in.
Yeah, and yeah, but we act like this new generation is so sexual through YouTube and all this stuff. But I just think it's important that we know to not demean the millennials or the Gen Zers, because the truth of the matter is we are really microcosms of what has transpired prior
Yes, sir.
to us being here.
Yes, sir.
And I think because previous generations were uncomfortable having conversations about sex, and they swept under the rug, we've kind of perpetuated that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dog Catcher
Wow.
was the song of the day. Come on.
That's true. That's
Super
true.
Freak.
That
Those weren't our songs. Those are our parents' songs.
Listen,
Well,
Betty
that's
Wright.
what y'all listening to.
Betty Wright. Tonight is the night that you make me a woman.
Come on.
That's Betty Wright. You said you'd be gentle with me.
What
and I
y'all was
hope you
doing?
will. Listen, so it's been going a long time, hasn't
Yes.
it? Yeah. So I think I want to say that because I think we try to embarrass the present generations.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a sense of disembarrassment.
Yes, sir. Oh, goodness.
And shame. I'm so glad you said that God made us sexual beings.
Yes.
And while I'm on that conversation, I think a lot of people, me included and some others, I think it really started with childhood.
Yes.
I remember we took health in school, and I remember having some conversations in school back then about health, and they talked about the reproductive system. That was the first time, I think I may have been in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade in health, and they were talking about the reproductive system, yada, 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 yada. But the truth is, with my friends, we had interest in girls before
Way
then.
before that. Oh,
You know what I mean? I remember, I think I was in 6 years old when I had my first crush. You know what I mean? And I never forget the first time she touched my hand. I felt like the Holy Ghost came. But we don't have these conversations. And I think a lot of parents are not equipped or comfortable in having conversation with their children. I want you to talk about that, because now I've seen even parents, I don't know if it's taught in health, and some parents, you're able to now decline or withdraw your children from classes that talk about it.
Yes.
So if they're not talking about it in the schools, we're uncomfortable talking about sex in church,
Right.
and parents have discomfort talking about it.
Right.
Could it be that our whole sexual formation is kind of warped from the very beginning because of ignorance, because of the lack of availability of information? So I want to start with that. What do you say to parents? How should parents engage the conversations with children? Because the first teachers about sex and sexuality should come from the parents. So I think we got to kind of disembarrassing. I don't know. I think sometimes parents don't know what to do or say because they weren't taught properly.
Absolutely. When working with couples, and then I'm going to go to children,
Okay.
I often ask, how did affection show up in your house? What did it look like?
Wow.
So for us, it's not only what our parents said, but it's what they did
Right.
and what I saw.
Wow.
So did I see my mom and dad hug, or did I see my mom with whoever she was embrace? Did they say, I love you? How did that show up in your house? Number one. And then we can have that conversation about what that's going to look like in your household. Now,
Wow.
for our children, we need to start, as you said, 5 years old.
Wow.
We think that's early.
Wow.
Now, you're not going to have the whole birds to the bees conversation, but you
Right.
need to orient your child into what their body is.
Wow.
What it's on their body.
At 5.
At 5,
Wow.
just this is your body. And these are your areas that are private,
Yes.
because we do have people who are being predatory towards children.
Ain't that the truth?
So we do have to educate our children on what their body is and what it's made for and what's different. My body may be different than my son's. Mom, you don't have a little pee-pee? And on their level, you're
Right.
having that conversation.
Right.
At 5,
Yes.
just orient yourself to your anatomy.
Yes.
And okay, the school may not teach it, and that's fine. You can teach it though.
Wow.
There's plenty of material out here right now for young parents, for children, all the way up, to tell you about everything and how as far as you want to go. And it depends on the parent, it really does. So if you don't feel comfortable, there is material that can help you have conversations with your child.
That is so good. I mean, because you're exactly right, to inform them about their own anatomy
Yes.
early on, just so if they have other siblings or cousins, just to know the differences in anatomy, but also to make sure that we start teaching them about those predators.
Yes.
And what's appropriate touch versus
Yes.
inappropriate touch, because unfortunately a lot of molestation
Yes.
and assault takes place in families.
Yes, it does.
And I know you probably get to that conversation later on, and if you have and it's with somebody that somebody trusts.
Yes.
And so if somebody has access to your children who they trust, and that child is ignorant to what is appropriate and inappropriate,
Right.
then it can perpetuate inappropriate activity that's unhealthy because they have not been taught
That's
correctly from the parents. So you said start at 5 in terms of teaching about the anatomy,
Yes.
and then integrate as that child matures
Yes.
to deeper conversations.
Yes, so then we could talk about feelings versus emotions. And feelings, and I love to say this, feelings are not facts, but they're
Yeah.
indicators.
Mm.
So I like her, or I
Yeah.
like him,
Yeah.
or I like whatever I like.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Yes.
We don't want to demonize the child. You
Yes.
don't want to chastise the child. You want to understand what's going on when they're telling you how they feel about someone. And we can say, you can have deep affection for this person.
Yes.
You can like this person.
Yeah.
So you're the first teacher on how your child relates with other people.
That's good.
So I can say, oh, that's good that you like her. And what do you like about her? And it could be more than, and they're probably going to say she's funny. They're not going to be like, she got a big booty or she got, no. No, she's funny, mommy. She plays with me,
Right.
on their level. And as you grow older and as that child grows older, you then have deeper conversations about, okay,
Yes.
where you go with that. But you continue, this is starting a conversation.
Yes.
So at 5, my mommy's been talking to me about this, my body, and
Yes.
about relations, and as it relates to my body, since I was 5 years old. So that when they turn 12 and 13 or wherever they are, and they're having deeper situations, they still feel comfortable coming to you because you've already developed that connection. And this is normalized. So we're normalizing. We're not being reactive.
Yes.
Where our parents were reactive.
Yes.
We're not.
It's amazing you said that to me about the normalization of it, because I was talking to a colleague of mine, a very good friend. This is probably in the summer. And we were talking about this conversation. Our kids were growing up, and his daughter was 10. And he was on a trip with his daughter. I think he was taking her somewhere, spending daughter-daddy time, when her cycle started.
Yes.
And he had never had a conversation with her
Wow.
on that level about the anatomy. She had it with her mother, but she was with her father
Yes.
when this happened, and she had to come to him
Yes.
at the moment. So trying to navigate as a man, as a
Yes.
father,
Yes.
how do I serve, how do I love on my daughter
Yes.
and get her through this moment, which is a very, I'm sure, trying, or that's a signal moment in her life, but you're with your dad, who's completely oblivious about what to say.
Wow.
Yeah, and so when you said that normalization, but thankfully she had the comfort level with her dad, but he was completely uncomfortable and didn't know what to say because he never had that conversation before.
wow.
So you said, but materials are available to help with that.
Absolutely. Even for dads. And the fact that she can come to him and feel safe,
Yeah,
you already know he's doing well in his connection with his daughter.
that's good.
That's beautiful.
So, in a real sense, a lot of times it's possible that children can have a bad start in terms of having conversations
Yes.
about sex if it has not been done in a safe and healthy environment at home.
Absolutely.
And so, and if the church is uncomfortable, particularly talking with young people about it, because, so much has gone on in churches
Yes.
that sometimes has been predatory too, toward children, which can further exacerbate the problem. Now, I want to ask you a question about that, because when children don't get it from their parents, and then when they come to church, and faith is brought into the equation, sometimes faith and our teachings, I think, can become toxic,
Yes.
because, as you said earlier, we're not taught, or I wasn't taught, that I'm a sexual being, that God, I didn't hear that as a kid. When I heard sex in church, it was stay away from it.
That's right.
I want you to talk about that, because if my religious formation makes me think that it's something that's bad and to shun, you know what I mean? How do we kind of unearth some of that?
So good. When we're talking about our formative years
Yes.
and our spiritual formation, and as we're growing in our stages of development, it is such an impressionable time.
Yes.
And so if I didn't hear it at home, when I get here, God says, I'm nasty.
Yeah.
God says my body needs to be covered and hidden.
Wow.
God says I'm a fornicator, which
Wow.
is that's what I know about sex.
Wow.
I'm nasty. It needs to be hidden. I know all the don'ts, none of the do's.
Wow.
They're all don'ts. So I'm going through life in my formative years, and then I go to college, And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go do whatever.
Wow.
So it's either God or my sexuality. At that point, we have now disconnected.
Wow.
So we're slowly disconnecting from our sexuality, from what is good to what is bad. And so as we are in those years, those college years and high school years, you're going to test the limit because that's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
You're trying to form your identity. So if it's all bad, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run to the bad stuff.
Wow, that's so true. That is good.
You tell me don't do it, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah, that's what teenagers do.
Exactly what they do.
Yeah.
So if you want your child to be wilding out, restrict them.
Wow.
Tell them it's all bad. Tell them you can't be around anybody.
Wow.
Keep them at home. They can't go nowhere.
Wow.
When they get to college, the wildest one will be that child.
Wow. That is so good. I remember, some years ago, it's probably maybe 25, 30 years ago, if that, they had this thing that had become a thing, and I remember being in it very strongly, but it was this purity thing.
Yes.
It was this purity culture, and you put the purity ring on.
Yes.
And I remember what I thought was the intention behind it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, for people who had not taken the purity vow and had the purity ring, for me, it brought about such a dichotomy of dirtiness,
Yes.
of impurity, of this scarlet letter. It seemed, I don't know, it was just kind of weird to me, because it was not even about sexual health.
Right. No.
It was this whole idea of if you do something, you're dirty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know and I think we still got this purity culture kind of out there now.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's necessarily the correct approach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do know we want to teach wholesomeness, but I always wondered about that. What are your thoughts on that?
And that's another perpetuation that we see plays out later on in sexual dysfunction.
Wow.
So now you told me stay pure. If you do anything, you're dirty, 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 dirty.
Yeah.
Up until I'm, 20, 23, 20, whatever it is,
Right.
in your 20s. Now, on your wedding night, go in there and go have sex.
Wow.
The dirty stuff that you've been telling me not to do,
Wow.
you've been telling me this is dirty, dirty, dirty.
Wow.
My body, don't cover it, hide it. And now
Wow.
you're asking me to have relations with this person, have a sexual relationship with this person.
Wow.
And on the inside of me, I can't cut it off in a day.
Wow.
What has been formated in me
Wow.
all these years.
Wow.
And then God on top of this is watching.
Wow.
God is watching.
Wow. Wow.
So
And I don't want God looking at this. God, you don't need to see this right now. But right.
But it's nasty
Right.
and it's dirty. Then today though, because he put a ring on it, it's
Right.
clean.
Right. And so mentally, I got to psychologically, somebody has to make that shift
How?
in the moment, and you've been indoctrinated for all these years. And it's interesting because I've talked and counsel and advised couples too. I've advised one couple some years. This has been some years ago. The wife was still uncomfortable being in the presence of her husband uncovered.
Yeah.
They've been married like 7 years, and he had never seen her body.
Right.
And this was a woman, and so I'm looking at him like, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. But it was all in the name of faith, in the name of God, because of what. So he could never even enjoy his wife in that way because of how she had been indoctrinated. It sounded like it was almost mental illness. I mean, it's like.
Yeah.
You know.
So if I don't feel comfortable sexually with myself, how can I allow you to feel comfortable with me?
Wow.
Number one.
Wow.
It is. It's
Wow.
unhealthy for me to feel nasty about myself.
Wow.
Sexually.
Wow.
If I'm not taught to be a sexual being,
Yes.
then how can I become sexual?
Wow.
It's just that it's the tension there.
Wow.
And so now it becomes almost violent. It almost becomes violence to you.
That's so
to
true.
Me.
That's so true.
It feels rape.
Yeah.
Like it's a rape. Where some women, where we've heard,
Yes.
I just don't want to do it.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable. I have no enjoyment in this.
Wow.
Why? Because we've indoctrinated. Could be. That's one area.
Gotcha.
Could be other areas, but that
Yeah.
alone
Yeah.
has really messed us up.
I'm glad you said that, because even when you think about women, historically, I think from a faith perspective, in many instances, what I've heard and things I've read, I've been pastor almost 34 years, and I've done a lot in terms of weddings. I've done so many and talked to couples, but it's almost from a sexual perspective that sex and relationships and marriages and relationships has been for the pleasure. This is traditionally thinking, solely for the pleasure of the man.
Yeah, yeah.
The wife's responsibility is to render your due benevolence
Well,
to your husband. So it's almost like it's obligatory. It's almost like it's a chore. And I've seen, to go on what you just said, how do we unearth that where the mentality is the wife's supposed to do this for the husband? We know the man generally is the most sexual of the genders. It's just something it's something about us. Willard Hart in his book His Needs Her Needs says, that sexual where a woman desires intimacy, a man desires sex, and intimacy and sex are not. Men generally think that intimacy equals
right.
sex,
And they're not.
right? But sex is not as important in his estimation as it is for women. But that does not mean that women shouldn't talk about that. How do we balance that equation?
Yes. So 2 things. Men are spontaneous and women are reactive. So y'all are on, right? It don't take nothing.
Yeah.
You ready, Freddy.
Absolutely.
Women, though, are reactive. We need stimulation, and we need stimulation. However, stimulation and pleasure are 2 different things. So when you mention what you just said about men and women and how we have to give our due benevolence, first you have to know that I'm reactive, that women are reactive. We're not ready just because you're ready.
Wow.
So
Wow.
let's deal with this, and then I'm gonna come to sexual temperaments.
Wow.
But let's say it's a typical day. Had to pick up the kids. Maybe you had to cook the food. Maybe you had to deal with some bills, clean the house, whatever you had to do. Then it's about 9 something at night. Now you ready.
Yeah.
He in the bed ready. But you didn't have to do all this stuff, and now you want me to run in the room and drop it like a hot and do all this other stuff. And I'm tired.
Wow.
Because I've had to do all of that. So we talk about even the roles of men, roles of men and women, historically, not now, because our younger people, they're more egalitarian when it comes to roles. So they're sharing responsibility. But older generations, they didn't share responsibility.
Right.
The woman, you could work in the house and outside the house.
Absolutely.
So if you work, even if you worked outside the house, you still got more work to do at home.
Absolutely.
And then you got more work to do in the bedroom.
Wow.
I'm working overtime.
You got 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
Wow.
So I'm working hard. And now you want me to be reactive. You want me to be all of these things. Well, that comes from stimulation. But stimulation is not pleasure. Stimulation, anybody can be stimulated. I could be raped and feel stimulated because my body and our bodies were created for stimulation.
Wow.
But not receive pleasure because it's really a fear-based response that I'm having.
Wow.
I'm feeling the pleasure because that's what my body is created to do. It's created for stimulation. But pleasure is another thing. That takes a while to receive and to receive with one another. But in order for us to get there, it takes time. You say intimacy. That starts in the morning. We already know foreplay doesn't start at 9 o'clock at night. That morning, you should be finding out, okay, can I help get the groceries? Maybe I can get us a meal tonight where she don't have to cook. Maybe we should be conversating. Are there conversations we're having? What are we doing to create that intimacy? And that's something you could work on with your partner because it's about entering each other's world. We need you to do that. Women need you to do that. But if you don't do that, then it just becomes a duty. So you'll hear women say that I did my duty.
Wow.
This should never be. It wasn't intended to be duty. It wasn't intended to be duty.
Wow.
But if we look back in patriarchal times, because
Yeah.
it was patriarchal,
Mhm.
women were considered property.
Absolutely.
Even if we read the Bible,
Right.
how are we viewed as women?
Right.
You don't hear us being viewed as sexual. And when they are used, and when they are written in there, we're using our sexual prowess to get something.
Wow.
So then it becomes a transactional relationship.
Wow.
I'll give you this, you give me that.
Yeah.
Even in a relationship,
Wow.
it becomes transactional.
Wow. You said a lot
Yeah.
about stimulation
Yeah.
versus intimacy. And because men, we're visual and we don't need all that.
Yeah.
And but you mentioned some of the things
Yeah.
about stimulation,
Mhm.
in terms of showing interest,
Mhm.
being passionate, being compassionate,
Mhm.
being concerned.
Mhm.
Um, other things outside of the bedroom that creates an environment. Because I remember reading that book, His Needs, Her Needs, that a woman needs also to feel secure.
Yes.
And I think could that security also be a part of that stimulation? It's hard for a woman to be stimulated if she's not secure.
So stimulation, we're going to have pleasure, is where we're trying to get to.
Gotcha.
So
So we start with stimulation,
yes,
intimacy.
and then we want to get to pleasure.
Pleasure is the goal.
Want to get to
Y'all
pleasure.
heard that, fella?
Come on, not just
Pleasure
y'all.
is the touchdown.
Pleasure's the touchdown.
Okay.
It's the touchdown.
But you're saying that the woman desires pleasure as well.
Absolutely. And it started in the garden. The Bible says they were both naked and unashamed.
Yeah.
So if we bring that into our context, if one person is in the room and they are naked, I need to see that you also can get naked.
Wow.
So, but if you're in the room and you fully dressed and I'm naked,
Wow.
we're not on the same page.
Wow.
That's what happens at night, literally.
Wow.
That's what's happening. Is I'm coming into the room and I'm naked and yet you're fully clothed. And you were expecting to have an intimate connection that's going to lead to pleasure. It's never going to get there. Not until we're both naked and unashamed. That means I'm open. It's beyond the body.
Yeah.
Because when we started in the garden, it wasn't about this. It wasn't about seeing everything that we had. It was about I'm open in every way. You see past this.
Right.
It's not just about my sexual organs. It's
Right.
beyond that.
Absolutely.
So that's what we want to get to during the day, every day.
It's so good you said that because we're talking about there's this misnomer or this caricature or this idea in society. It's almost stereotypical that women, once they get a man, now she's got a headache.
Right. Yes.
There's this stereotype with women that they're not ready, that they don't enjoy
Yeah.
sex, right? But what I'm discovering is there are some women who don't enjoy it because they're not being valued or their pleasure
Well.
is not prioritized. It's almost like you said we move from stimulation to intimacy to pleasure.
Yes.
That pleasure is not just for the man.
Right.
And I think a lot of times men, we have this tendency to think that we just all this and we know what we're doing and we just got it going on and we're going to just make the world shake tonight, right?
Right. Right.
And it's going to be an earthquake and a seismic, cyclops, and the hurricane is coming, and all this kind of stuff.
Right, right.
And the woman is looking like,
Right.
So what is it that men could, because I think sometimes even couples, I've known women who can't even talk to their husbands about their lack of pleasure because
Yes.
they're both not naked.
Right.
How do we
Right.
fix that?
Right. So, and it's a delicate conversation.
Yes, it is.
It depends on how, because most men are socialized to, first of all, not show emotion. To the two emotions you can show is anger and lust, basically.
Wow.
Those are acceptable,
Wow.
but we need more than that.
Wow.
And so, it starts with you can have planned times that you're going to be intimate, And intimate doesn't, again, that's not sex. You already mentioned that.
Right.
So planned times of intimacy and then spontaneous times of intimacy.
Talk to me a little bit more for the men, because we're
Oh,
clueless.
Lord, have mercy. Yes.
But just when you talk about intimacy, give me
Yes.
thoughts
Yes.
just for those who are watching, because sometimes, we just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, right? So talk about that. Like, so the men who are watching, if their wife is uncomfortable sharing, what does that look like? How can we provide atmospheres of intimacy?
Yes.
How can men do that?
That's
What
beautiful.
are some ideas?
So if you were to say you want to start the night, start it with a lunch or dinner. You can start with lunch. You don't even got to start with dinner. Start with lunch. Hey, let's go to lunch. Hey, I'm thinking about you. Just want to talk with you and be with you today. We just having a conversation. She's going to remember that. Oh, wow, that was nice. He took me to lunch. That was nice, Maybe at dinner, you get her something else and maybe give her a gift or something that night. Not saying you have to all the time, because
Right.
that's not what we're doing.
Right.
But we're just starting to establish that, hey, you want to watch a movie? We can sit and watch a movie. Let's start with the connection and getting close to each other, and then start to say, okay, what is this night going to look like? What do you want to do with this night? But I think I think what you're asking though is what is your sexual temperance and what is mine?
Sexual temperament.
Sexual temperament.
Let's talk about that. That's good.
What turns you on? What doesn't turn you on? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? We don't have those conversations.
Wow.
There are cards. There are flashcards. There are videos. There are apps on your phone that you can use for those.
Sexual temperament.
Sexual temperament. And plenty of cards, plenty of, I always have a lot of tools to give people, but that's one. So, because it may feel awkward. So what if you both took that quiz, because it's a quiz. You can take a quiz and, hey, let's talk about this. What do you think about this? And what do you think if we tried this tonight? Or can we try this next week? Maybe tonight's too soon. Maybe next week. What do you think if we tried this? Let's talk about how that looks. Until it gets comfortable. Because this is the most intimate person you're with. They are the only person who sees you this way. Should be. So it's about digging deeper into that relationship. But for me to do that, we're going to have that conversation. It may feel awkward, may feel weird, but you can do it. You all can start looking at, I want y'all to start looking at these different tools. I think it's helpful. Women, we're going to get all these tools. You know us, we got it all. But we want you all to start looking at these tools so you can find ways to connect with her.
You made a good point about this is the only person that you should shoot that this is the person that you're going to see this way. The only person, or should be.
Should be.
And I think that's a great nugget for me to kind of keep unpacking there, because a lot of times in relationships, and it goes men and women, but typically a lot of times if a man or a woman has been fraudulent, if a man or woman has not walked in monogamy, if they've violated the relationship by bringing somebody else into the union, and when that happens, when somebody has violated the vows, violated the union, and basically contaminated the vows and relationships, I think a lot of times men don't realize, but women too, but I want to talk to the men, of just the scars and what that does to the relationship, and how sometimes that can affect the intimacy and the stimulation.
Absolutely.
Because of the breach.
Yes.
Talk about that for men and women who have caused breach, who've caused harm, and they want to just move beyond it.
Yeah.
Some guys who understand what I'm saying. We just want to apologize for the breach, thinking just that the apology eradicates or erases the damage or the residual effects, not realizing that breach can be possibly fatal
Yes.
to the intimacy.
Yes.
Therefore, there won't be any more stimulation or pleasure. Can you talk about that for a moment?
Yes, it's so good. We are now in a society that divorces very quickly,
Yeah,
first of all,
absolutely.
very quickly.
Absolutely.
Or in a relationship, there's so many flags. There's a flag for everything, right? So one thing I'm thinking about is just the loss that happens. The loss of the ideal of what our relationship was.
Jesus.
So there's grief there,
Wow.
which I don't think we look at.
Jesus.
This is a grief process that we're in now. And I may feel a myriad of ways for a while. Like you said, I just want you to get up. I said sorry. I'm here, ain't I? No, I'm in a grief process at this point.
Wow.
So you have to allow me to go through this process to get to a place where I can accept what has happened and then move and then decide if we're going to move forward, this is what it's going to look like. I always say now there's an opportunity for a new beginning, which is a beautiful thing, because now that that is the roughest, the worst thing we probably could have went through as it relates to our intimacy, we now have a chance to create a new understanding of what our intimacy is. Now we can really talk about what are the expectations on both of our sides, and not to say, but first taking ownership of that. So the first thing, let me go back. First thing the person who caused the breach needs to do is take ownership. Number one, take ownership. Number two, allow that grief to be what it's going to be and be there. How would you be with somebody who's lost somebody?
My God.
Be the same way with that person who's experiencing that. Even if you don't feel it, that person does. So how would I be with you if you've lost someone? So be with that. Be with her. You should be okay to experience all that, all the hits. You're going to take some hits. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to take some hits. She's going to be probably suspicious. You have to be okay to allow her to see everything, be open to everything until she gets to a place where she feels comfortable with where you are. And continue to just be there. And then allow her, let her make the moves, not you. You don't get to. You lost that.
Wow. Lost it.
Lost it. Until you start to repair. So now we're repairing. But first you got to allow me to heal, because it was a breach. So now I need time to heal. It's no getting over nothing. I'm in the grieving process. So allow me to have that. And you should be too, because you also have a loss. Now, if you want this back, you want this relationship back, what do we need to do? Because you can ask that. What do we need to do to get where we need to be? And then you both start to have that conversation. And you can create you can create something even better. Because obviously there was something going on that we couldn't talk about it. And you went your way. But now it should be an area of freedom. Hey, hold me accountable. This is an area where you can hold me accountable, even though we're all responsible for our own actions. But here's an area where you can hold me accountable. Here's where I felt whatever I felt. So it's another level of intimacy, even though it felt like a breach. It can be turned around. Now, that's work. I'm saying all this, but this is years. It may be a year, maybe a couple years of work to do. So I don't want anybody to think it's just like that. It's not.
It's interesting because typically in my experiences, it's easier for women to move on than it is for men.
My goodness.
I don't know. It's just something about the psyche or how, I found it in my experiences. And I think you mentioned a word earlier that I thought was so important. It is nuanced, but it's still the same. When that breach has taken place, that is a type of trauma.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I don't think we see infidelity.
Yes, it is.
As trauma.
It is.
I think sometimes, we can have justification or whatever, but the traumatizing effects of that to a person who's unsuspecting. Can you talk about that for a moment, those who felt trauma as a result of
Absolutely. And that's where what you thought is not. That shifts your whole paradigm. So my whole world and even worldview may be flipped upside down based on what had happened and what's happened. It could be, depending on how I view this relationship and this person, it could be very traumatic. So that person then has to decide, you may need to talk to somebody. It may be time for you to talk to somebody individually and then as a couple, because sometimes we think, okay, we need to go to couples. You need to do that. But sometimes there's some individual work that also needs to happen that would help and benefit for you too. So, but absolutely it could be traumatizing.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you just get over. It's not.
Yeah. I think it's too. I think it's good too, because a lot of times when there's been a breach or somebody's moved outside of their vows, it's not always because there's a lack of sexual
Yes.
fulfillment or intimacy
Yeah.
with their partner.
Right.
You know, I think that the notion is for that person to blame themselves, like if I could have done more. I think there are times when something can be lacking,
Right.
but every breach is not the person who's been violated. Typically, a lot of times will take the blame or question themselves. What could I have done differently? And that's a level of trauma as well.
Yes, it is.
Now, let's talk about the trauma, because like I said, it's very nuanced. People who have been traumatized or abused sexually, whether it was in a childhood or through an assault, you know, in their 20s or whatever, that are still affected.
Yes.
And so future stimulation, future intimacy, future pleasure
Yes.
is still kind of thwarted, and sometimes more difficult to experience because of trauma.
Absolutely.
What do you say to the people who are watching, who have experienced assault or trauma
Yes.
that's affected them sexually in their present life?
Yes. So first thing I would say is to seek therapy. That is an area where you do need a licensed clinician to work with you, and also you may need a sex therapist. And there are sex therapists that can help. I think we think sex therapists are just for a certain area. No, sex therapists work with those who have been traumatized either or have PTSD from different types of sexual trauma. And so we think, oh, they're just here. No, sex therapists help you work through your sexual understanding of yourself after your agency has been taken from you. So the issue with sexual abuse is my agency, my autonomy has been forcefully taken from me. And at the most vulnerable space and time. And now I'm asked to go into another relationship, disregard that, and be in an intimate space and be vulnerable. And yet I still recall these things, my agency and my autonomy that was taken away. Because when you're in this sexual moment, it's a very vulnerable time. I should be open and trusting. Well, I could have been with this other person, but they took advantage of me. And how do I know that you're not taking advantage of me? Or I'm feeling something, even while we're in the moment, that's bringing me back, which is PTSD. It brings it back. It brings it back. And so that is something that has to be worked out. That this is not that. This is not that. That's it. It's something to work out.
I think that's so important, because I've seen a lot of couples, and I try to use, you know, I'm not a licensed counselor. I think we have to be clear on that. I think in the past, historically, we looked at the preacher as the one-all, cure-all.
Yeah.
I can give spiritual guidance. I can give wisdom. I can give the Bible. I can give experience. You know, wisdom doesn't always come from a degree. I can give my experiences. I give best practices. I can give what I feel, you know, the Bible is saying. I give, you know, but some things require a deeper level of specialization. And what I've discovered, I've had experiences where the wife or even the male were uncomfortable. I've seen couples get married and be together and have not shared past traumas. And so you marry somebody never knowing they were traumatized after we've said I do. And so you're trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
And more is required of you. Not saying that you would not have married the person had you known earlier.
Right.
But now you're having to rethink and restructure and provide a grace and an understanding and a mercy that you never would have done. What do you say to those couples who've experienced that?
Yes.
What do you say to the person who is with somebody who's experienced trauma? What would you say to them?
I would say to, as you just said, extend grace, but first there needs to be some conversations around that. They don't have to give you every detail, but I do need to know what is your trigger. What triggers you? Because what am I doing that may be triggering you in this moment? And being okay to say, okay, I may not be able to do that right now, and get some help for yourself. So we always want, you need to get help. I may need to get some help. I may need to talk to somebody to help me work through how I'm going to operate with this person. It's the reason that I do ask couples to talk about your previous traumas. They do need to know, whatever the trauma is, they need to know, because trauma shows up at any place. It could show up at the most inopportune time.
Wow.
And so if I know that about you, that's helpful. That helps me to know how to move with you. But have that conversation, start having those conversations. And there's also literature for that too.
Well, this has been amazing. You talked about a variety of things, from divorce rates, we talked about places of shame, due benevolence, sexual health, sexual temperament.
Yeah.
So for the couples now, for the people who are unfulfilled, the people who are not trying to talk to their children, and they may want to get some more information and may want to come and get more expertise from you one-on-one. What would you advise people to do in terms of seeking additional help?
So I don't have all the answers, but I can get them for you. But you can connect with me, and you can email me again at scross@gtrbc.org. And also, we're going to be doing something in a couple of months I'm excited about with just everybody as it relates to relationships. So I'm hoping to have a lot of information and resources available for everybody. So we'll have more information out for you.
This has been a great conversation. It's been sobering in a lot of ways because, again, you think about your own life, you think about, those of us who have been, had to deal with grief due to the hurts that we've experienced. Those of us who have caused grief and are trying to breach those gaps. She said something for all of us. And at the end of the day, I want you to know there's always hope. And with God, all things are possible. And even in the worst moments, I want you to know that God's grace is sufficient. And God's grace is sufficient. That's what I want you to know, that God loves you and God's grace is still sufficient. Except the Lord built a house, they labor in vain that build it. And I want you to know that through Christ Jesus, you can find healing. And I offer that to you. I offer you. He promised to give us life, and that we can cast our cares upon him. And we can come bold before his throne to obtain mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. And so if those of you who are watching, you want to connect with us, you want somebody to pray with you, you want to get that relationship with the Lord, because you've been trying to do that relationship on yourself, on your own, but that relationship won't work unless you invite God. He's the one who created relationships and has given you the agency and given you the ability to be a sexual being. If that's you, the information is on the screen. There's a QR code on the screen right now where you can connect with us right now while you're watching. I want you to do that. Please, ma'am, please, sir, you can connect with us right now. Connect for prayer, to have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. I want you to do it. If you're looking, again, for counseling, Pastor Cross's information is right there on the bottom of the screen. And she can give you resources that will help you if you have been affected by anything that we discussed today. I hope that nothing that we said was triggering to anybody. If it was today, I want you to reach out and know we're praying for you. I know sometimes you have to go deep to deal with things that have been maybe lingering. It can be painful. But James Baldwin once says, while it is true that everything that is faced won't be fixed, it is also true that nothing can be fixed until it's faced. And so I hope today that something help to inspire and encourage you. Listen, if you were blessed today by this Biblecast, and we're going to be talking about God and sexuality the entire month of October, and as Pastor Cross said earlier, we got some amazing things happening. We have some new resources coming that's going to continue this conversation. But if you've been blessed and you want to sow into the ministry, there are various ways you can give. They're on the screen right now. I want you to do that. QR code is on the screen. That will give you the different mechanisms of how you can support the ministry. You can go to our website, www.hohatl.org, and the ways that you can contribute are there as well, whether it be through text to give, Cash App, Zelle, through the website or the P.O. Box. All the information is on the screen right now. These conversations, we don't like to have them in church for whatever reason. Maybe it be guilt, embarrassment, shame, or we've been taught that we don't talk about this in church. But if we don't talk about it from a healthy perspective, love, I wish above all that we prosper, be in good health.
Well,
as our soul prospers. And Pastor Cross, I want to thank you for being concerned about our wellness.
yes, sir.
In totality.
Yes, sir.
And so I appreciate you for sharing. Listen, we'll be back next week, same time, same station. Invite somebody to be a part of it as we continue this conversation on God and sexuality. Got to leave you now, but as always, remember this. If you'll be good to God, then God will be good to you. We'll see you next time. Peace.
You want me to?
Don't do that. Just don't start that this week.
You
no,
sure?
Please.
Because they had said
it's a lot. We got a lot. Come on, let's go.
Well, hey, family. This me and Crystal are here again, and we got some things to tell you.
Yes.
So we want to welcome all of our new members who just completed our virtual spiritual boot camp. We want to say that we welcome you here to the House of Hope Atlanta with open arms, and we are so glad to have you as a part of our family.
Absolutely. Now, our Life Night discussions will continue Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7:00 p.m. So join us all 3 days as we continue the conversations from the Wednesday night Bible study. To receive the Zoom links and for more information, visit the church's website and all of our social media platforms.
And what you know about these Wellness Wednesdays, Crystal?
What you know?
So seniors, we don't want you to miss out the workouts that are starting at 10 a.m. with the Guru of Abs. Sound like a nickname for me, huh?
Lies.
Guru. Okay. We want everybody to get well physically because there are also classes for our younger people as well. So you can come on out as well. And after working out, we're going to have a wellness education at 11 a.m. And then finally at noon, we have our spiritual wellness with Bible study and a light snack. Love a good snack. AARP is also sponsoring our fourth Wednesday Wellness Wednesdays. You do not want to miss their presentations every fourth Wednesday. We're also expanding our movement. We have added another senior workout class on Mondays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and we call this Motivation Monday. So register by texting wellness to 678-201-1351 or visit the website for more information. Come on out and join the movement.
Absolutely. On Wednesday, October 11th, the Department of Juvenile Justice will hold a job readiness fair from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in room E200. Now, the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice is a multifaceted agency that serves the state's justice-involved youth up to the age of 21. Now, the DJJ is searching for special candidates to become part of our dedicated team of professionals. Now, interested job seekers can register for more information about career opportunities in juvenile corrections. In addition, DJJ is veteran friendly. Former military service members will, with honorable discharges, receive a one-time military salary increase incentive on eligible job titles.
All right.
Yes.
Now, the Confess Project will be holding another training opportunity on Monday, October 16th at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in room E200. We all have personal relationships with our barbers and our stylists. We love to overshare with them. I know sometimes I tell a lot too much. But what happens when someone is struggling mentally? Project Confess aims to empower barbers, stylists, estheticians, and all of those people that are working in the beauty industry with skills from mental health first aid. Take advantage of the free training on Monday, October 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. To register, all you have to do is text the word CONFESS to 678-201-1351 or contact scross@gtrbc.org.
The Red Cross Blood Drive experience is going to be Friday, October 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All blood drives have had low turnout since the pandemic. So let's change that. Register for this blood drive experience, which will include interactive demonstrations and workshops on health, finances, and mental health with Glow Up Garden and Impact for Community Change. Live, CPR demonstrations, breast cancer detection demos, workout sessions, beauty health with healthy hair, the Build-A-Bag financial experience. It was a lot.
And I thought it was just a blood drive. It's more than a blood drive.
Yeah.
And we want to give this information to all of our parents who would like to have a baby or a child dedicated. You can have Jordan dedicated.
Done.
Okay. A baby dedication is scheduled for Sunday, October 29th as a part of the Sunday worship experience. A baby dedication class is scheduled for Saturday, October 21st at noon. And for more information and to register, text the word baby to 678-201-1351. Or you can go to the church website, or you can even call the church office at 404-243-9336.
Awesome. Now join Hope Youth Now for the return of our annual fall festival on
Ain't that
February.
Hallelujah night? The same thing. No? Okay, I'm sorry.
And I said February.
They're going to say I went over the time again.
Friday, October 27th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. For this in-person activity, we gather outside as a family for fun, fellowship, and loads of treats for the children. Go to Hope Youth Now on social media platforms for more information.
That's right. That's right. And if you are a member of the House of Hope who is looking for an opportunity to serve, we want you to come to the Ministry Expo after the in-person worship experience on Sunday, October 29th in the atrium. You'll have an opportunity to meet ministry representatives and birth month leaders and learn about the various ministries of the church to assist you in deciding to join and becoming actively involved in the ministry. And listen, some of y'all just here, get in the ministry. Come on. Don't just sit here. Get involved.
For the entire month of October, we will recognize the month as More Than Pink Month. We are bringing awareness to cancer, lupus, pregnancy and infancy loss, and domestic violence. So wear your pink and purple all month long.
That's right. And this message is for all of our online church members. If you have prayer requests, text the word prayer. If you would like to become a member of the House of Hope Atlanta, text the word connect. If you would like to be saved, text the word salvation. And if you're sick, experiencing bereavement, a life transition, or even a crisis, we want you to text the word care to 678-201-1351. And online church members do know that there is a QR code that should be showing right now. It should be showing some. Yeah, QR code that you can scan, and it would allow you to see different resources for specifically for our online church. So we want to make sure that you get involved. So scan that code.
Absolutely. Now, please help us to replenish our food pantry with non-perishable food items, such as canned goods, breakfast foods, canned fruits, and vegetables, starting October 2nd.
It already started.
Yes, so feel free to bring your non-perishable goods to the narthex and the cathedral after in-person worship on Sundays. So please don't leave food at the Outreach Center.
And we want you to hang out with us as we embrace healing and renewal through Jesus Christ. Meetings are held every Tuesday at 7 p.m. via Zoom application. Please call us at 404-243-9336 to sign up today.
Our Hope Global Ministry team is in need of ministry volunteers who enjoy sharing Christ and connecting with people in a virtual worship space. To sign up, email our Hope Global pastor at jcarner@gtrbc.org, or you can call the church for more information.
That's right. And Crystal, guess what?
What?
That was a lot.
It was.
But we are done.
Oh, goodness.
I guess they're going to talk about us again. I guess
Whatever,
in the group
we're
chat or
done.
whatever.
Thanks.
Whatever we talking about us. Talking about we're going over time.
Stop. Just say
But we
bye.
just say what the people, but we do this for you, for the people. We just want to say this. Until next time, we want you to remember what, Crystal?
Life with God is better in every way, every day. Be blessed.